Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Monday, May 4th, the Monday after Kentucky Derby, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, however you want to frame it. But PTF back with you in the Brooklyn bunker once again, joined by a man who spent the weekend in Louisville, or at least the first part of the weekend in Louisville. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say about this year's Kentucky Derby, especially just the experience of getting to be there for the whole thing. I had to rush back to catch my daughter in a musical, Pippin, on Friday night. So I was not there for all of it, just watching on the phone, not the same thing. Anyway, how was it down there, Mikey P, Mike Proposi?
It was amazing, Peter. I love the Derby. This is my fourth Derby, but the second covering for In the Money. And I got to do the walkover, which was an incredible experience. I was so happy to do that. I can't describe how much fun that was. But the whole weekend was great. The weather, a little chilly, but very little rain. Hard to really want to be anywhere else on planet Earth. Me and 150,000 other people hanging out at Churchill.
Awesome. I want to ask you more about that specifically, but let's start with the big headline, Golden Tempo, a horse that I think we'd all sort of mentioned as, oh, this is the interesting long shot for underneath. Well, he did more than be the long shot for underneath. Ended up unleashing a powerful run, unimpeded run at that in the stretch to get the job done, delivering not only a Derby win for himself, but making some history in the process. Cherie DeVaux becoming the first female trainer to win the Kentucky Derby. Certainly one of the feel-good storylines of the weekend. What did you make of Golden Tempo?
Well, he got his setup, right? And he's always been a horse that has run on through these preps. And, he started sprinting, flying from way behind to win. And then he was, grinding from the back of the pack in some of these prep races. We talked about him, like you mentioned, as an underneath type, right? Like we didn't think he'd be able to get his pace, his setup. Well, everything worked out for him. The race melted down. Closers 1, 2, 3, 4. And he was the best horse on the day. He got a fantastic ride. And Jose Ortiz just had an unbelievable weekend. He won 5 on Friday. He won the Oaks. Well, then he won the Derby. And I think Renegade's Trouble certainly played a role. He might have been the best horse, depending on if he would have got a clean trip. He didn't. And of course, everybody loves Cherie, right? Everybody thinks Cherie's probably top 10 trainer in the game. This was no surprise that she won the race. And it's great for her to get her flowers now. And everybody's going to realize how great she really is. She is at the absolute top level. She should be mentioned with the Pletchers, with the Chad Browns, with the Bob Bafferts of the sport, because she is that good. She's that capable. So, and she's going to get quite the run out of this now.
No doubt, and deservedly so, already with some fantastic horses in the barn and this kind of national attention. It's something that is deserved, and she's a great representative. One thing I love about Cherie, I don't know her well personally, interacted a dozen times or whatever. I've interviewed her before, but she's one of our own as people, horse players these days, especially at the level that we get to play the game, Mikey, being involved in the media side of things. You get to have an understanding of what the racetrack life is all about. And to have somebody who's so steeped in it and so well liked and has a very particularly kind of like racetrack sense of humor on top of it all, it's just great. It feels like a win for one of our own. Does that sound about right to you?
Absolutely. And if you know anything about her, she started with Chuck Simon, and Chuck used to do a podcast that was something that I frequented, that I really liked his show.
Right
and,
guy.
Obviously gone too soon, passed away, a couple of years ago, I believe. But she came up under him, and he had a ton of influence on her. But you're right. She's kind of one of us, because Chuck was one of those guys too. He was an everyman, regular type guy. And I think that she's that way too, in a lot of ways. And she's just somebody that you can root for. And I think somebody that everybody likes for sure. Somebody that people respect too. So you're right. She's a racetracker. She's one of us. And now, she's on the biggest stage. I love watching that video of her watching the race and her reaction. I mean, how could you not get behind that? How could you not enjoy that? Just a happy result. I think a very satisfying result for people, even if you didn't bet the horse.
Oh, for sure. This is one you clap back either way. What a cool situation. You'd have to have even a horse player's cold heart had to be touched by the scenes there at Churchill Downs. And one other note on Chuck Simon. I remember when he won his first race at Saratoga. This is probably going back to year 1 of the Saratoga Special. So we're talking about, was that 2000, 2001, somewhere in that era. And he was a guy who we'd seen around, and I remember talking to Sean Clancy about it and him getting very excited seeing Chuck Simon in the winner's circle, not even I don't think at the time fully knowing who he was, and going up to him, and the connection was made. He had come up under Alan Jerkins. And you talk about a great lineage of proper racetrackers to have the fact that she goes back to the chief in that way through Chuck. It's just kind of cool. And the type of racing history little tidbit, Mikey, I know you appreciate.
Absolutely. And what's better than that, honestly? I mean, to have for Alan Jerkins, for Chuck, for now Cherie, and I'm sure she'll have her tree also that she brings into the mix. It's just a great story.
Very, very cool stuff. And then, of course, you don't want to be accused of a host fail. Ended up also learning plenty, I'm sure, from her days working with the Chad Brown operation to give that an acknowledgement as well. All right, we've talked about the good. Well, one more good thing. Let's talk about the Ortiz brothers exacta. I suppose it was only a matter of time. I wouldn't have necessarily thought it would have been this year. And if you told me it was going to be that exacta, I probably would have said it was going to be the other way around. But I mean, that was also a very nice moment watching them after the wire going 1-2 as brothers. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. What are the odds of that, right? I mean, to have two guys that are brothers at the absolute top of the sport. I mean, they're probably in a handful of top 5 jockeys in the country. And, for them to finish 1-2, it's fantastic. And I think there's a lot of camaraderie around the jockeys anyway. I mean, the guys root for each other. I mean, they're very competitive, but to have your brother, if you're going to lose, you might as well have your brother beat you.
Let's get back to an interesting handicapping point about who was best in the race. But before we do that, I will acknowledge that there's no two ways around it. It was not a fast Kentucky Derby. It was fast early, but it was not fast in the end. A 95 Beyer speed figure is what both Golden Tempo and Renegade earned in here, with Oselli 1 point back at 94 with his third place finish. Historically, in terms of Kentucky Derbies, this is the lowest that I've seen, I would say. I almost thought that they would think it was difficult to give a Kentucky Derby a 95. I almost thought it would almost automatically be upgraded a little bit. So I thought that was interesting that they went with something much closer to what the raw math suggested. And the way they did it is probably right. But I mean, I must admit, I was a little surprised to see the figure be that low. Were you surprised at all?
I was. I know Mystic Dan got a lower number too for his Derby, but you would think that these horses should be capable of running Beyers over 100. But even on the preps, there weren't too many. I know Further Due had a big Beyer coming in, but most of them kind of hovered around 100. They walked home in this Derby, though. I mean, it ended up 202 and won fifth. That's slow, honestly, for a mile and a quarter. I mean, it's quite a reach from Secretariat's 159, right? I mean, and it was a fast track, and so that's why closers did very well, because the pace melted down. It didn't seem very fast. 46-2 doesn't seem like a fast pace, but when there was probably 12 horses clumped together, and they were pushing those, on the lead. Horses having to work hard to get into the race. They got tired very quickly, and the closers benefited distinctly. I know Denon Bourbon was probably looked upon as running the best race in there just because he was on top of the pace. He ended up just getting beat for fourth in the race. I think he could be the one you want out of there.
That's what I was going to say. I take your point about Renegade. Maybe you can make the Renegade was best argument on the day based on the trip. But as we've learned over the years, when it comes to races that end up slow, you don't necessarily want to pick the trip horses out of the races with the slow final time. My brain goes to, okay, let's look at the dynamics then. I haven't seen the racing flow figures yet for this. We'll have those later today, and we'll talk about them, I'm sure, in later podcasts this week. We're going to have a lot of extra content, Derby, the aftermath of Derby. I don't think people get tired about talking about it until at least Friday. So we'll have a few days worth of things where we get a little bit more into the pace figures. But just looking at the chart, I mean, to me, I was going to make the exact argument that you just made. Denon Bourbon's probably the horse you want out of here because he was the only one anywhere near that pace who ends up. I mean, you look at the half mile pole, and here's where the horses that finished at the top of this race were at the half mile pole. Golden Tempo was 18th, Renegade was 15th, Oselli was 16th, Wallaby was 10th, and then it's Denon, who was third, up in the vanguard there, and then Incredible 14th and Commandment 13th. So when you see that, and then also it did seem like the jock, I'm not saying he wasn't going to win the race, but I do think he probably holds on for us at least fourth if not third, if he doesn't open up exactly when he did. You could just see it in the chart. He's according to the chart, he's 2 lengths clear at one point. I think he's an interesting horse. Now, I haven't heard. My original assumption was you send a horse all this way, they'll come back in 2 weeks in the Preakness, but I haven't seen that confirmed. But yeah, in Preakness terms, he'd be the interesting one to me. What do we think? How many horses from this field are going to come and run back in the Preakness?
I don't think many. I don't think that there's much of a plan. I think the Derby winner probably will show up. I do think that as long as the horse is doing well, that they will show up. Typically, that Derby winner shows up. I know not last year, but I would think that he'll come back. But as far as everyone else, nobody really said that they're pointing for the race. And it is at Laurel this year. That is a little bit different. Who knows? I mean, maybe, we'll get, that field shaping up. And then like last year, journalism kind of threw his name in his hat in the ring late in the game. And he ended up being the favorite in there, depending on who shows up in here. Usually Baffert likes to run his horses back. I haven't heard much from his camp. His horses didn't finish very well, though, 12th and 17th. So I'm not hearing much buzz about these Derby horses coming back in 2 weeks.
You mentioned about the horses running back. Front page of the Racing Form today specifically does say that Golden Tempo is not definite to come back. Decision to be made in the next few days. One little data point, though, Mikey. The only bookmaker putting up prices on this certainly expects no Golden Tempo, because the current price for Golden Tempo in the Preakness is 6-1. Obviously, he'd be a lot shorter than that should he choose to turn up. But anyway, we'll get info on that in the next few days. And again, we're going to have lots of other coverage about that. I want to ask you, before we turn our attention to the Oaks, just about that experience of the walkover. What was that like? Who were you with? How did that go?
It was amazing. I went over to the backside there for the walkover, and the media members can go over and participate in that. And I ended up near the back. I was, following Further Ado. So I have great videos of me walking over, like with Golden Tempo, and so the big Golden Tempo sign. The crowd is like nothing you've ever seen, and everyone's excited for the Derby. You're getting high-fived along the way over, because everyone thinks that you're, a part of the connections and things. They don't know. I mean, there's media there. There's people taking pictures. There's people writing stories. There's people that are involved with the horse. And so to be able to do that, honestly, I have to say, Pete, it was like a dream come true for me. I mean, the fact that I've, been interested in horse racing for 30 plus years, to be able to be at the Derby, but then to be able to walk over with the horses for the Kentucky Derby, I cannot explain to you the smile on my face. And it would be something that I can't describe. The horses, the crowd, everything. It was amazing.
That's great. No, that's like being on the field for World Series Game 7. It sounds magic and transporting and wondrous, which makes me very, very happy to hear. Have you watched back the NBC footage? Are you involved there? We did see our man Marshall Graham was on some Jumbotron footage that was at least broadcast, I think, on the house feed, but I'm not sure if he made NBC. What about you? Are you on NBC at all?
I haven't been able to watch it back. I was a little busy yesterday with my daughter graduating college. So
congrats!
Thank you. It was a busy weekend for me. Did not have a chance to catch some of that. I did watch some of the internet, replays and things, some of the drone shots. I love the drone shots. You can really, especially for the Derby, 20 horses, there's a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah. Well, you have any other thoughts, anything trip-wise? I mean, there's a lot of hard luck stories, Further Ado among them, in terms of horses that were knocked around. Again, I'm not focusing my handicapping energy as much on that because of how slow the race came out, but I'm not saying that's the right attitude, and I'd certainly love to hear what others think. Who else did you want to upgrade coming out of the Derby?
I mean, it was a bit of a rough run race, especially after the starts and, Renegade. I mean, that's going to be well documented. It's just, I don't care. I know he overcame on the day, but do you really want to get knocked around on the rail like that every year? I mean, there's a reason why people don't want to be inside. Even, the two had to drop out, and there was plenty of bumping. I know, So Happy may have caused some of that trouble. There was, like you mentioned, Commandment sort of had some trouble. Further Ado had some trouble. Wallaby, some people think, had some trouble in the race.
Yeah.
I thought that, Emerging Market was a horse that he sort of had a tough trip, had to, kind of work to get into a spot. He seemed to me a horse that I wanted to maybe, especially it was only his third start, to bet coming back out of that race. So, I mean, there's plenty. I'm sure you could find trouble in a 20-horse race. There's been a couple clean derbies recently. This was not one of them, though. There was certainly lots of jockeying for position. Some horses, that got stopped. Maybe even Wallaby, I think, is another horse you might, want to upgrade a little bit off his derby trip.
What I like about the Wallaby upgrade is because he was so much closer, right? So he was closer and he missed some spots and, still managed to get fourth. He'd be the one for me. If I was going to upgrade a second horse that I would probably want to bet next time, I might go in his direction. I mean, Renegade's obvious, but I mean, he'll be, could be your Belmont favorite, even against Golden Tempo, you would think. But, we have plenty of time to get to that. I do want to loop back before we finish up here and ask about the Kentucky Oaks, of course, where a lightly raced horse was able to overcome that inexperience, you could say. Always a Runner wins it with a 94 Beyer speed figure, returning just over $13 on the win end, meaning my old pal gets second, ran herself with credit, was right there till the end. Always a Runner prevailing late on. Give me your thoughts on the Kentucky Oaks.
Well, it was a wide open betting board. I mean, your top 7 choices finished 1 through 7, but how often do you see, you had 7 horses between, 5 to 1 and 7.5 to 1. And so there was plenty of horses taking a ton of money in this race. I mean, the public got it right. All those horses finished 1 through 7 in here, but it's rare to see you have 4 horses within, a couple cents of each other at 5 to 1 as your betting favorite. Now, Always a Runner got a great ride. She's extremely talented, and she was able to get her trip and finish. She looked really like she was going to win the whole way around, in my opinion. Now, I did bet her, so I was watching her closely. But it's the pace wasn't necessarily supersonic at all. I mean, it was 23:46, and Explorer. She made the front. I do think she got her trip. She just wasn't quite good enough. Meaning I thought raced very well, but Always a Runner was just a little bit better on the day. This is a nice group, but I do think that they're sort of going to knock heads, given the diversity in the wagering, as far as a lot of people thought a lot of horses had a chance. I think the race kind of shaped that way, right? Everybody sort of had their chance, got their trip. Zany was a little disappointing, but she got shuffled back. She had a little trouble in the race compared to most, but it was a great race, and I'm very interested to see how these girls come out and kind of duke it out the rest of the season.
It'll be fun to see, no doubt, these divisions and which way they go. It might be a candidate for a cutback and Explorer, or maybe they'll press on. We'll have to see what they decide to do. I think you could probably give Zany another chance, and I'm very excited just to see Always a Runner and Meaning too, that I've been following closely and was thrilled to see them be able to get the job done on the day. Any other thoughts from, obviously we're not going to go through all the undercard races here. We've got other shows to do that, but any other performances you want to highlight? We did already say this, but I will just underline Jose Ortiz getting the memorable Oaks Derby double. That's just something I wanted to say out loud in my own voice before we got out of here. But anywhere else to go on this edition of the show?
I just think that the one race that a lot of the horse players especially were excited about was the Crude Velocity Englishman race, and I thought that delivered. I mean, those two threw it down in a very fast Pat Day mile. I was on Englishman, but Crude Velocity, I thought he got a fantastic ride. He knew that he could not let Englishman get away, and it looked like when Englishman kicked at the top of the stretch, he was going to get away. He did not. Crude Velocity ran him down. He could be the most talented 3-year-old. He got 100 Beyer for that. I would think it probably should be a little higher for that race. He's going to be very interesting wherever he shows up next. He is a handful, and I do think that those two are 2 of your better horses in this crop.
It sounds like the Preakness is the plan, at least according to the bookmaker, whose odds I cited before in the market, where Golden Tempo was 6 to 1. Crude Velocity sits at 6 to 4, top of the market. And when you were going through, trainers who would be likely to wheel back in 2 weeks, Baffert would certainly be at the top of that list, as you pointed out. And so he's just going to probably do it, not for the first time, with a horse coming out of the Pat Day Mile instead of the Derby. He looks very, very talented. I mean, that was we've talked a lot on the shows about how the race 2 back could have been faster. And while a quick glance at the raw time suggests the 100 it's in the ballpark. You can upgrade him because it's not easy to try to cede a tactical advantage to a horse as talented as Englishman and to get the job done and really not even have it be close in the end. I mean, this is a horse who has gears, and we haven't seen him go through them all yet, I don't think. So he probably is he's your favorite for the Preakness, unless Golden Tempo shows up, and maybe even if Golden Tempo shows up, because this was an impressive effort from a familiar name. So we'll have to see. Would you like him coming back in 2 weeks?
I would not bet against Crude Velocity, no matter where he shows up. I tried it this time. That was fool's gold there. So no, I do think that he's the best right now. I mean, there would be questions, obviously, the distance, and there would be question marks. It's not like that he's going to walk out and lay over these horses, but I do think if he can continue to develop, continue to carry that speed, that distance of ground, he's going to be tough the rest of the year. And it's Baffert. It's a talented 3-year-old. He knows what to do with those.
No doubt about it. We're going to have a top 5 Preakness video coming up for our friends at First, and we've just got tons of coverage coming. And it's not just going to be about the Derby. We're also going to be looking ahead to racing next weekend. Very excited to be continuing our relationship with Woodbine this year. Monmouth coming back online. I will be hopping on the boat and heading down there on Saturday to kick off a season. Fingers crossed we get the weather we deserve. Sounds like it's going to be rainy in the area during the week, but hopefully it clears out in time for a Monmouth opening day. We've got to one last question for you before I send it home. Because speaking of partners of ours, twinspires.com, I know you'll be covering some races for them coming up this weekend, but any thoughts on the KDBC? Did you what happened to you in there? Did you fall on the Englishman sword? Is that what I'm guessing happened to you?
I did. I thought it was a 2-horse race, and I thought Englishman would get the better of Crude Velocity, and that was where my KDBC started and stopped. So it was, great to be involved though. And I think Twin Spires and their contests are incredible. It's just something that I think everybody should be looking to, especially given the circumstances with, the way the odds change and things like that. To get in these contests, there is a lot of extra value in there, and congrats to the winners. There's some people that we know involved and at the top of those leaderboards, but like I told Corey, I said, now I just have to qualify for the next one and try again. So that's right. That's my attitude. I'm all in on these contests. We thank Twin Spires, of course, for everything that they do, and I do think that we have played a role in making them, because we've been on them for a while, promoting the contest. So
pretty much day one.
Yeah. Match made in heaven.
We'll have much more on the KDBC this year, including hopefully interviews with some top finishers elsewhere on the network. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media Network so you don't miss any of our YouTube exclusive coverage. And as for you, Mikey, yeah, we'll see your name on the leaderboard again very, very soon. One great thing, my friend and mentor, William Murray, the racing writer, his great line about horse racing that all the real horse players like you understand. There's always fresh. You go to that website, you click on the tournaments tab, you can get the next journey started. And sometimes it can feel like we're tilting at windmills out there in this betting world, but I really believe contests give you a chance to get the best of it. And for anyone out there, if anyone's cynical saying, why isn't he talking about the odds dropping? We're going to have a whole other video about that. I didn't want to muddy the waters by bringing those conversations to here. Let's just say contests are one of the best ways, maybe the best way to get your money in good. Check them out, twinspires.com. And there we have it. That's going to be this edition of the show. We'll thank Mikee P one more time, as well as everybody who makes our work possible here at the In the Money Media Network in terms of sponsorships and partnerships. We'll thank our founding partners at 10 Strike Racing. We'll have Marshall Graham with us a little bit later in the week to discuss that very thorny issue that I was just mentioning. Our charity partners as well, our friend Kim Weir, Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. Learn more about them and the work they do in themoneypodcast.com/horses. Most of all, though, want to thank all of you, the viewers and the listeners, especially those of you who drop comments on our videos throughout the week. I'm sorry, I tried to keep up and it just got impossible. But if you ever need anything from me, you can always reach out personally. In themoneypodcast.com, there's a contact button there that goes right to my email, and I'll get to it eventually. But still, keep leaving those comments. It helps us out. Who do you think you want to bet back most out of all the horses in this year's Kentucky Derby? Is it one of the obvious ones? Is it Golden Tempo? Is it Renegade? Or are you with me and Mikey thinking maybe Chief Wallaby or Denon Bourbon could be the one? Let us know in the comments, and we will be back real soon. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.